this announcement in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, laws of the state of New Jersey. The Borough Clerk has prepared a schedule of the meetings of the governing body of the Borough of Kenilworth for the year 2021. The Borough Clerk has posted a true copy of the schedule on the bulletin board located at the front entrance of Borough Hall and has mailed true copies of the schedule to the local source, the Star Ledger, and the Home News Tribune, and is maintaining a copy of the schedule in her office during the year 2021. During the public health emergency caused by the coronavirus, the Borough Council will continue to meet on their regularly scheduled meeting dates at 6 p.m. The council meetings will continue to commence as soon as possible after the work session. Accordingly, the notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied with regard to this meeting. Please stand for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Cesari.
Here.
Councilman David.
Here.
Councilman Fenestrella.
Here.
Councilman Ladati.
Here.
Councilman Pence.
Here.
Councilman Puglisi.
Here.
All are present.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the council meeting of March 24th, 2021?
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Councilman Ladati, seconded by Councilman Fenestrella. All in favor?
Aye.
Various advisories were received from the New Jersey State League of Municipalities.
Okay, is there a motion to accept communications and reports?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Cesari, seconded by Councilman Ladati. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I apologize in advance for my lengthy report here. However, there are two issues that are so important, I need to discuss them at this meeting. My father used to say, only the guy who isn't rowing has the time to rock the boat. I would like to address rumors that have been circulating in the borough. First, the exploration of utilizing Union County for dispatch services. First, let me say that this is not on the agenda. This entire council agreed to explore this option. This conversation came about because there's grant money available for a switch if the decision to be made to go in this direction makes sense. Exploring the details of this is just that, an exploration, not a decision. This was an informal conversation and work session against all of us here on council. There were no objections from anyone to explore this consideration for Kenilworth in the future. At no time was any decision made to move in this direction. We would not be serving the borough well if we did not explore all options available to us. The misleading information was intentionally put out to create public fear and support personal agendas. And it's a sad day for Kenilworth when we as a governing body can't have an open conversations about ideas without having these conversations be twisted and exaggerated and used for political purposes. I do have concerns about response time, and I personally frequently come to my office here at Borough Hall after hours. I feel secure and safe knowing that we have staff in this building and around the clock looking out for us. It's comforting to know that help is available immediately should any of us need it. I can tell you based on this and the little information I have, I am not at this time in favor of this change. There are a lot of questions that would need to be answered and all the facts presented before any decision is made to even move this conversation forward. Second, and probably the most important issue facing our borough is the proposed affordable housing. Let me be very clear that this is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue facing all municipalities. It doesn't matter who is serving on the governing body, there is a state mandate to comply. Kenilworth is one of the last communities to adopt a plan to meet affordable housing requirements as set forth by our New Jersey Supreme Court. I want to be very clear. There will be no low-income housing coming to Kenilworth. No low-income housing will be built in our town. Low-income housing is government subsidized, and this is not happening. Should the borough not move to comply with this state mandate, a lawsuit will likely follow, resulting not only in hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees, but worse, the court would then decide what a builder would be allowed to build in our town. Not our planning board, not this governing body, and most importantly, not the citizens of Kenilworth. We see our taxes going up now. A builder's remedy lawsuit would cost us taxpayers a staggering amount of money for a legal battle that we simply have zero chance of winning. This governing body has been provided with numerous war stories of communities that have spent millions in futile efforts to stop any development, and they all lost. Should you be given the false information that this can be fought successfully, that is simply not true. I am 100% confident that there is zero possibility that the state would change the laws for Kenilworth. We as a governing body must work together to create the best outcome for our borough and not use this against each other to sway votes. A court takeover often results in a much greater, less desirable, dense project, a terrible result for our town. Scare tactics that have been happening in this community to mislead the public with unimaginative high-rise buildings are not only false but reckless, as this can be used to inflame the court to take action against Kenilworth. The truth is, this project is a beautiful building, inside and out, with many amenities overlooking the golf course. I can tell you that all development projects that have been built in neighboring communities have complied with the state mandate and do have at least 15% affordable housing units. This is the law. None of these developments have ruined any town. In fact, the opposite has happened. Property values have actually increased due in part to these new developments. Our planner, in conjunction with our planning board, developed a redevelopment plan for use in an industrial portion of Kenilworth, utilizing 3.79 acres. It will encompass 165 units with 15% set aside for affordable housing, which will be calculated using the area's median income, which goes as high as $50,000 yearly. Many of our communities who live here may qualify. Our kids and our parents will likely want to live here. The remaining 85% of the units will be market rate. This development would significantly lessen the pressure for any court intervention. The sole point remaining for the plan is the final approval by this governing body. Absent prompt action, we face the real threat of a superior court taking over the zoning and development in our borough. It is at this point that we must hit the brakes. I cannot recommend in good faith moving forward without bipartisan support of this plan. Over the past several months, our borough attorney has emphasized the need for any council member to set forth any questions. None have been raised. It is true that our failure to act may very well result in the needless staggering legal bills and court intervention. It is my sincere hope that we can avoid the poison of politics and do the right thing. At our next council meeting on April 28th, our planner once again will be present to answer any questions or concerns anyone may have. And another thing I want to address is I was recently personally attacked on social media, and being that Sal Candarella put his name to it, I will respond to his personal attacks against my character. Sadly, his motivation to slander me is greater than his motivation to do good for Kenilworth. I am not clueless, and I assure all of the residents of Kenilworth I care deeply about this town and the people that I serve. I also assure all of you that there is total transparency in this council. Suggesting by some that there isn't with zero facts does not make it true. I sit here with a clear conscience and an open heart to serve the people of this town to the best of my ability. I take my oath of office very seriously. I represent every member of this community, and I invite any resident to contact me. I will gladly answer any questions and listen to any concerns you may have on any issue. Let us all remember that although we have our differences, we are here for the good of our borough. There is no place for mean-spirited attacks, name-calling, bullying, and creating false narratives on social media. We can and should act respectful and professional. We are here to serve this community, and it is my hope that everyone will put the good of Kenilworth before their personal agenda and politics. Thank you. I'm sorry, I know that was long. Okay. Finance report, Councilman Ladati. I'm getting these now.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor, support your narrative on both the fair housing issue and with our dispatch. Again, with only discussions, and being finance chair, we brought it up on our finance committee meetings and just discussed. And as far as fair housing, I mean, we have a responsibility to the New Jersey Constitution, and that's where the mandate comes from. You know, dating back to Mount Laurel and all the changes that were made, and reading up on builder's remedy, that could cause a real problem.
Millions of dollars.
Big problem. Now for my finance report, the tax finance office is currently assisting residents with their PTR forms. The PTR form is property tax reimbursements. So it's like your senior freeze. Maybe bring your form to the office between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. to be completed. They'll help you out there to fill the rest of it out for you. If you have not received the book and you feel you should have, please call the State Division of New Jersey Taxation office at 1-800-882-6597. The tax office has received a limited amount of PTR1 books to distribute. If you were 65 or older on December 1st, 2019, or receiving Social Security disability as of December 31st, 2019, and your income was less than $91,500, you may be eligible to apply. PTR books are available on a first-come, first-served basis. Again, you may request one from the state at the number I just gave you. Homestead credits have been applied to the second quarter property tax. Adjusted bills were mailed to approved residents a few weeks ago, and second quarter property tax are due May 1st. That's what I have right now, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Ladati. Department of Public Works, Councilman David.
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I had was today was the north side scrap pickup, bulk pickup. Next week, 21st, is the south side, where residents can put out mostly anything, just no electronics, refrigerators, TVs, or anything like that. They won't pick them up. And try to put them out like maybe 2 days before the 21st instead of like now, and let them sit at the curb until the 21st. Kind of gets messy. And that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Councilman David. Department of Public Safety, Councilwoman Cesari.
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have a report for the police department. However, I do have to touch upon a few things you said and what has come to my attention this week. Bear with me. As council president of this governing body and police commissioner, I feel that an important issue has arose that I need to address. There has been much news feed on Facebook about our town switching our civilian dispatchers to county dispatch. People ask if someone, either mayor or council, could shed some light on the subject. So in trying to set the record straight, so all are on the same page, I inadvertently misspoke about such subject and used the wrong words, trying to explain to all that it was never mentioned or discussed, and I say that in quotes, at a meeting. I'd like to retract that and say there was casual mention and maybe a very few brief comments exchanged suggesting this may be an area that we have an option to explore in the future. As such, I know now that the Finance Committee, along with our CFO, may have touched upon that topic in more detail. However, I was not privy to that information since I did not participate in the Finance meeting which was had. Therefore, I have no way of knowing what was said or mentioned or discussed or commented on in the Finance Committee's meeting. This subject was also mentioned at a previous work session and/or council meeting sometime in the mid to late winter, but it was just that, quote, mentioned. topic, at which time nobody had any comment to say or add to that extremely brief mention of finding out what is entailed in looking into county dispatch. There was no formal, or what I should have said, official, conversation to address what is involved in making a switch. The subject was never broached in an official way, where all members of our council were present and had an official conversation about it with our mayor. We have never even gotten around to find out and explore what issues are involved as far as manpower, how much savings it will or will not have on the town, response time of 911 calls for our residents, so forth and so on. Kenilworth's former chief of police seems to be spinning his own scenarios into what has been a very broad idea mentioned in his presence, but once again, there was no formal official discussion on the topic. As he was present with his own selective hearing, he never ever expressed his opinion in any way to me, the police commissioner. Since he seems to feel that this is such an important issue, he should have made me aware of his opposition. But be that as it may, he chose not to express his concerns to me and rather took to social media and publicly discussed it over the airways. Ex-Chief Zimmerman has used this tactic for political gain in the throes of running for election and hopes to acquire a seat as a sitting councilman. What it all comes down to is he was very disgruntled on the issues of not receiving a raise this year, but we simply did not have the resources and had to focus our funds elsewhere. A year without taking into account of how COVID destroyed us, whether it be our budget as a town, as well as people's situations, whether it be their financial losses for not working for a while or even losing their jobs permanently. Not to mention the loved ones that may have lost to this horrible pandemic. If we are all concerned as a town about the taxes we pay and the burden of having them increased, why does it appear like he wasn't concerned when he put the pressure on the mayor and certain council members? Think about that for a while and just let it sink in about his concerns, since he was then the highest paid employee of this borough, even after we were decimated financially. Decimated financially. Our various departments have given back some of their budget allowance money because of the dire situation that the coronavirus has caused, not just to our town of Kenilworth, but all throughout our great country. I wanted to take this opportunity to apologize for misstating information. It was not my intention to do so or mislead anyone in any way, and if this offended anyone, please accept my apologies, because unlike others, I own up to my mistakes and shortcomings. With me, what you see is what you get. I'll always be transparent for any and all to know what is going on in our town. What is right for this town is in my best interest. As I move ahead in serving on the governing body, I do so in what is best for the town of Kenilworth. Thank you all for listening.
And while we're on the topic, let me just say this, because I heard, Mayor mention that somebody brought it up for political purposes. If you're going to say, you're going to be general like that, and I would only ask that if you think it's any one of the sitting council members, then you let us know. If that's what you mean, let us know. If you think it's me, if you think it's Scott, if you think it's Joe, if you're going to call,
I did
if you're gonna
specifically
call us out,
mention you in the post, in the
I-
thread.
you did or
The
not?
the councilman, as well as they did mention the chief, that's where they got this information from. It was said. So
Well,
we'll talk about it, and I'll make sure we talk about it in the
listen,
future.
we should have open dialogue, not, before you go out and you provide such a speech, making accusations. I think it would behoove you and behoove all of us that you pick up the phone and say, Fred, what's going on? Rather than you making an accusation. I'm not on Facebook. I was on Facebook once for the past month, and I was to tell the condolences to somebody. So I have no idea what you're talking about, okay? I got a text from somebody.
Got pretty heated
Right?
there on social media.
I'm sorry?
It was pretty heated.
You shouldn't make you shouldn't make these accusations.
Oh, I'm not making an accusation, I'm just saying what happened, for me
No, but you
personally.
said that for political purposes, and we're here, we have 3 sitting council members who are obviously at a different party. If that's what you mean, if you're accusing us of something, I suggest that you say it.
Fair enough.
Did you accuse me, Scott, or Joe?
I wasn't accusing you, it was when I read the thread, because this thread was happening, and it was mentioned where the information came from, and then that person came out in that same thread saying they were running for office, and this was part of the reason why, and so yes, that was for a political reason. I felt that his involvement in that, person's involvement in that thread was for a political reason. So I wasn't specifically saying that about you. However, you were also mentioned that the person that put the thread up mentioned that they spoke to the 3 councilmen and the former chief of police, and they were given this information from those people. So if I see that again, I will call you. Fair enough.
I mean, anyone could, that's fine. I just wanted to say that
Okay.
I wouldn't do such a
That's a
thing
fair
for
point.
political
Okay.
purposes, because I was here, I was part of the finance committee, I was at the work session, you know, so.
Okay, fair enough. I hear you. Okay. Planning and zoning, Councilman Fenestrella.
Thank you, Mayor. The month of March construction report is as follows. Building fees collected were $31,803. Trust estate fees collected was $2,460. Miscellaneous fees consisted of $1,405. And trailer storage fees were $300. Our last planning and zoning meeting last week, the Board of Ed presented a solar company to put the solar panels on the roof of the Harding and David Brearley High School, and they supported it and mentioned it would be a benefit to the town because money savings of
Yeah, it's amazing.
electricity. And the master plan was discussed, and I guess they're looking for some funding from other sources to help offset any fees. But other than that, that was it.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Fenestrella. Recreation and Fire, Councilman Pence.
Thank you, Mayor. For the fire department, there was a total of 101 calls answered in March. 44 were fire-related, 57 were EMS. And recreation, I have no report.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilman Pence. Health, Education, and Human Services, Councilman Puglisi.
Thank you, Mayor. Regarding the library, they are still continuing with their programs. The spring reading programs with lap sit on Tuesdays, and this is all virtual, toddler time on Wednesdays, and then story time on Thursdays. They are still giving out the April Adult Craft, which is an umbrella to decorate to patrons that check out a book from our collection, and these are while supplies last. April's Children's Craft is a diamond painting kit for ages 10 to 13 who checks out a book, and then again, that's also while supplies last. And for you mothers out there, there will be a Mother's Day craft that children can pick up for their mother, presumably. When a child picks up a book, checks out a book, they'll be given one of these Mother's Day craft. So hopefully they'll make something for mom. But in addition, an adult Mother's Day craft will be given as well. So again, that's you can call ahead, you can come by and do a pickup for all these items. And that was for the library. And as to the Board of Health, 2 things. I talked about in the past, you know how St. Teresa's does the blessing of the animals towards the end of October and beginning of October, and the Board of Health does the rabies vaccinations as well at the same time. And I thought, and the Board of Health thought, that if we could make this together, you know, have the blessing of the animals and the vaccinations, the rabies shots for the pets, I think it would be a nice event. So first we didn't get much response from the church, but then I reached out to Don Giovanni, and he said yes, absolutely, he's all for it. So just remind him 2 weeks in advance, and we can get that done at the same time. So I think that's a good thing. And lastly, this past Monday, the Board of Health ran a blood drive at the VFW, and Michelle Panici, she was there at the front desk, she helped organize it. I have to say, the turnout from our residents was A++. I tell you, a lot of people wouldn't want to come out, you would think, during the pandemic. Joe and I scheduled, and when I got there, for my appointment at 4:15, they told me to wait to give blood. It was 2 hours. The response was so overwhelming, and that they actually had to call people back who had scheduled appointments for later in the day to tell them not to come because we don't have enough time for you. So, and I would like to give credit to the Board of Health, obviously, but also to the Kenilworth residents that really, they're willing to have somebody touch them and poke them during the middle of a pandemic, take time away from the family, just simply so they can help someone else down the road. And kudos to all the residents for that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I was also there for a couple hours, and I gave blood as well, and it was great. It was great to see the response. I agree. Okay.
Can I have a question for Councilman Puglisi?
Yes.
I've been trying basically for the last couple of months to have the library check with the temperature of people coming into the building, just as a safeguard. And maybe you can follow through with that and talk to the director. I've had no luck with it, and I don't know if you have luck with having them do that. But I think it's important. We do it here, we do it all over. So if you could just follow through with that for me, I appreciate
And
it.
someone did mention it at a library meeting before.
Yeah,
And there was some pushback, so I'll mention it again.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next for council consideration is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Ladati, seconded by Councilwoman Cesari.
Resolution number 14 has been pulled from the consent agenda. It was placed in error. Resolution 1-16 with the exclusion of 14 are listed on the consent agenda and will be enacted by one motion. All items will be recorded individually in full in the minutes. Councilwoman Cesari?
Yes.
Councilman David? Yes. Councilman Finestrella?
Yes.
Councilman Ladati?
Yes.
Councilman Pence?
Yeah.
And Councilman Puglisi?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-03, an ordinance of the Borough of Kenilworth amending existing Chapter 106, Garbage, Rubbish, Refuse, and Recycling, Article 2, Mandatory Recycling, listed on the agenda for public hearing and adoption, was listed in error. It's actually scheduled for April 28th.
Okay.
That's all I have now.
Okay, I have two proclamations this evening. One is the appreciation for our volunteer EMTs, and the second is April 28th is Pay It Forward. I'd just like to say a few words personally to our first responders. On March 12th, 2020, Kenilworth received our first positive coronavirus infection. During these uncertain times, many people chose to back down and worry about their own well-being. Our EMTs felt a duty to act without hesitation, devoting themselves to helping their neighbors. To see our community members with such dedication and commitment to our borough makes me so proud. This is so important for the future of our long-standing tradition of volunteer fire and emergency services. On average, our EMTs rode 250 hours each, with many members riding 24-hour shifts. Several EMTs chose to move into the firehouse during this time in order to keep their family members at home safe, knowing that they may be exposed to COVID-19, giving their life, time, and energy for those who needed help the most. You are all the best of us. You are truly heroes, doing an unbelievable job making a difference serving our community. Because of all of you, Kenilworth is a better place. Please know that you are loved and supported, and never lose sight of the fact that many people will see their families again and enjoy their lives again because of your impact and your selfless service. Thank you for your courage and bravery and for putting your life on the line to help others. I want you all to know that every day I am grateful to you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'd like to read a proclamation for you. Whereas on March 9, 2020, Governor Murphy declared a public health emergency in order to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the state of New Jersey from the potential threat that may exist from the possible exposure to COVID-19. As we acknowledge the anniversary of the global coronavirus epidemic, It presents a timely opportunity for Kenilworth to give special thanks and gratitude to all EMS practitioners, many of whom are volunteers, whom have been and continue to serve on the front line of our nation's war on the COVID-19 pandemic. When the first COVID-19 case hit Kenilworth on March 12, 2020, our EMTs immediately jumped into action. Captain Laura Corvellin, Lieutenant Elizabeth Toro, Annette Lofty, Danny Morrow, Colleen Sezelman, Kiera Adorno, and Charlie Fouet responded to care for COVID-19 positive patients who needed our help. Pushing back the fear and uncertainty that was prevalent at the beginning of the pandemic, our EMTs felt a duty to act and became fearless frontline workers without hesitation. At the height of the pandemic, each EMT rode on average 250 hours each month, many members riding 24-hour shifts at a time, responding to calls for help from patients who were with suspected or positively diagnosed coronavirus. In addition to 911 calls for patients with severe injuries and illness, such as cardiac arrest and strokes. To protect their family and serve their community, several EMTs chose to move into the firehouse to provide prompt care while keeping their loved ones safe. Because of this, they were able to not only cover the town, but have multiple ambulances running in our town at one time. This was invaluable and allowed them to cover approximately 350 COVID-positive calls and counting. It is one thing to risk your own health and safety, but it is another thing to do so as a volunteer. Many of our EMTs are in school pursuing a nursing or bachelor's degree or are in the medical field. Despite this, they still make time to volunteer and provide 911 services to Kenilworth. As the coronavirus pandemic unfolds, we are ceaselessly inspired by the sense of duty, selfless sacrifice, and service. We are bearing witness to the remarkable dedication, commitment to service, and courage of EMS practitioners. We owe a great debt of gratitude to our EMTs, along with their colleagues in the fire service and law enforcement, who are serving on the front lines of the COVID-19 response. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Kenilworth that it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical service providers and encourage the people of Kenilworth to express their gratitude to our dedicated and selfless volunteer EMTs and first responders. In witness hereof, I hereunto set my hand, and it has caused the seal of the Borough of Kenilworth to be affixed this 14th day of April, 2021. Thank you so much. all of you. I have some copies of the proclamation, and a copy for everyone if you want to come up and grab one and take a photo. Captain Corvella, Lieutenant Toro, EMT Lofty, EMT Morrow, EMT Sesselman, EMT Adorno, and EMT Fouquet. Thank you. Thank you so much. Happy birthday. Thank you so much. Okay, the second proclamation I have this evening is a Pay It Forward. Whereas the aim of Pay It Forward concept is to promote community spirit through intentional acts of kindness. And whereas the Pay It Forward novel written by Catherine Ryan Hyde and first published in 1999 by Simon & Schuster has inspired the creation of a movie, a nonprofit foundation, and a movement that has been vital in inspiring millions of good deeds all over the world. Pay It Forward Day was created in 2007 in Australia to further the altruistic movement of goodwill. And every year, more and more people around the world join us on Pay It Forward Day to hashtag Stand for Kindness in their communities. In 2017 alone, there were over 17 million acts of service in more than 80 countries. And Pay It Forward Day encourages people to do good deeds for others without asking for anything in return, except for the recipients to pay it forward to others in need. And whereas together we can make a difference by creating positive change in our community and world, one good deed at a time. Now therefore, on behalf of the Borough Council, I, Mayor Linda Karlovich, do proclaim April 28, 2021 as Pay It Forward Day in the Borough of Kenilworth and encourage all citizens to join me in this worthy observance. In witness hereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the Borough of Kenilworth to be affixed this 14th day of April 2021. All right. Okay, at this time, I'd like a motion to open the floor to the public.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Ladati, seconded by Councilwoman Tsisuri. All in favor? Okay, does anyone have anything for the good and well-being of Kenilworth? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Okay.
Okay, seeing no one,
Fred Seuss, Chief of Police, Kenilworth PD. Not coincidentally, Mayor, I just want to point out that this week, April 11th to April 17th is Dispatcher Appreciation Week, notwithstanding any of the stuff that we've talked about.
that's very fitting.
It is very fitting.
We'll have a proclamation for them at the next meeting.
I recognize the three of my dispatchers up here
Absolutely.
tonight. And I think it's very easy. You just did a proclamation for the fire department. He's very well deserved. The police are recognized for what we've done through the pandemic. But I just want to point out that they worked through the same pandemic that we worked through. They didn't have days off. They did it without complaint. And a lot of times we're recognized. It's very easy to overlook that.
Yes.
From my position previously, before I was here, I can't tell you how much it helps when you're out on the road and the proverbial stuff hits the fan. A calm, competent, caring voice on the other end of the radio.
Absolutely.
And as a chief, I can't tell you how much their loyalty, dedication, and hard work means to me to make my life easier. So I'd like to recognize Sam Woolman, Kristen Campos, and Angela Beck here tonight. Chrissy
Thank you.
Castle couldn't be here, but she's no less essential.
Absolutely.
Well done, ladies.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing no one, I'd like to close the floor to the public.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Ladati, seconded by Councilman Pence. All in favor? Okay.
Mayor, there is a need for executive session regarding matters affecting anticipated litigation.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there a motion?
Motion to go into executive session?
Motion made or seconded?
Motion made by Councilman David, seconded by Councilwoman Cicero. Does anyone else have anything to say for the good and welfare of the borough? No? Okay. The clerk's not having fireworks. Okay, if there's nothing else to be brought before the council, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman David, seconded by Councilwoman Cicero. All in favor? Aye. Yeah.